So these cops, caught lying, and with their abusive behavior, remained on the street.
They did.
If it is the feds who are on this, the case could go on for years.
What case? This ain't no Pablo Escobar, it's the police.
In a war, you need warriors.
On the ground, get down on the ground!
You have enemies. In a war, civilians get hurt and nobody does anything. In a war, you count the bodies and then you call them victories. Aren't you angry?
Yeah, what's going on, fam? It's your man, VACAY-JAYTV. Yes, I'm back with another video. This is for We Own This City on HBO. This is the episode 2 recap, and absolutely, definitely informative. A lot of details, fam. So I'm going to do my best to break it down to make sure you get all the information on this episode 2. And yeah, this is definitely going to be an intense series as a whole, but episode 2 was even more intense, and we're finding out more information. Before we get into that, definitely check out episode 1, my recap for episode 1, so you get caught up on everything. So let's break down episode 2 of We Own This City. All right, so where we left off, we remember that Wayne Jenkins got locked up, FBI locked him down, and now they're walking him through the detention center. He's letting the guy know he's not going to be here long. He's convinced that he's going to be out of there real soon. But yeah, they put him in the, room where they question him. And yeah, he's just waiting there kind of impatiently because in his mind, he believes that he didn't do anything wrong. He doesn't believe that he's a corrupt cop. He believes that he followed the rules. And yeah, he's just sitting there very impatient, looking at the cameras, looking at the fourth wall, looking at us. And yeah, we see in his face that he believes that he is innocent, that he didn't do anything wrong. So now we shoot back to when he just got started, going in the precinct, and he sees this other officer. He calls his name. Hey, Jenkins. Hey, what's going on? Hey, listen, I'm going to be your TO. That's training officer, right? So he's going to train him, put him on to a couple of things, let him know what's going down, let him know the rules of the streets and everything, right? So the sergeant comes in to break everything down, and he lets him know whatever you learn in the police academy, forget about it. As far as sensitivity and all of that, forget about everything you learn, because this is Baltimore and we play by different rules here. So we see that Jenkins, he's definitely green and he's really just learning the game. So the sergeant tells all of them to definitely lock folks up and take them off the streets. The more people off the streets, the less people can shoot each other and the less crime they have. This is all so that, the mayor could eventually become the governor, and it's all politics, right? So they're just locking people up, and that's the whole theory. The whole theory behind it is get the people off the streets. As long as they're off the streets, then guess what? They can't shoot each other and it can't be crime, and the crime goes down, so it makes everybody look good. Right? But if they don't comply, then they're definitely going to bring them in, and that's it, right? Bring them in pretty much for nothing. So now we see Jamel, Officer Jamel, and he's walking past Jenkins, and Jenkins is telling him, hey, listen, don't say anything, don't say a word, but you already know Jamel is going to be sitting down with the investigators, and yeah, he's going to comply. And they let them know, listen, you better tell the truth. Don't hold anything back. Don't mislead us. If you do, then guess what? Whatever deal you got on the table, it's gone. It's gone. Once they find out the truth. He's like, listen, I know, I understand. Let's make it happen. Let's do it. And he's ready to sing. He's definitely ready to sing. So now we see Jenkins, and he's with the boys, the fellas, and they're talking about, an officer that was doing some witness harassment, and that they're not going to take it. The chief is letting them know, hey, listen, I got your back until you cross that line. But once you cross that line, listen, I can't have that. So your boy Jenkins, he makes a smart remark. He's like, free Gerard or Gerald, one of the officers that was suspended. And they were all laughing or whatever. But, the chief, they're not happy about any of that. They're really serious about not having corruption in the department, right? And he's letting the guys know they will not tolerate it at all. So everybody leaves and he talks to Jenkins and he's like, what was that about? He's like, you know, what is wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, it looks like Jenkins is definitely making a bad impression from the start, right? And Jenkins is just like, hey, I'm sorry, you know, sometimes my mouth gets ahead of things and I'll apologize. It'll never happen again. So we see the discrepancy right there, right? So now we see Nicole Steele. She's at the Civil Rights Office and they hear this rapper rapping about Herschel, right? Police Officer Herschel. He's the one that's been harassing folks and everything, and her counterpart is dancing to the music or whatever, and she's laughing at him or whatever, and she's like, hey, you know, who is this guy? He's like, oh, it's some guy that, you know, got harassed and now he's making a song about it. So he's like, yo, with all of this going on, why is Herschel not off of the streets? Again, Ahmed is talking that. She's like, well, we're gonna find out. You know, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out where he is and everything, and see what's going on, to see if he has any more information on what Herschel is doing. You already know, Police Officer Herschel, he is definitely corrupt and just harassing everybody. So now we see Hawk and McDougal, and they're about to question Anderson. Hawk is like, listen, make sure he doesn't have a tracker, you know, coming out of his ass. You know, it's like trackers all over the place. So yeah, Anderson, he's singing as well. And he's like, yeah, you know, it has to be Shropshire that was going after him, that robbed him and everything. But he is definitely letting them know that G Money, right, Gondo, is connected to Shropshire. And Shropshire is the guy that pretty much set up Anderson to get robbed by Gondo and take all his money, right? So of course McDougal, Fitzpatrick, they're listening to him, and he's like, yeah, that's definitely them. And yeah, G Money, he's a detective, he's a police officer, and he's connected to Shropshire, and they go way back. They're like friends from way back. But Shropshire is a dealer, right? He is a product dealer, and they are all connected. So now we shoot back to the investigation with Jamel, and Jamel is pretty much just kind of running back how, yeah, they went in and robbed Anderson. And yes, G Money Gondu, he was waiting in the car. He wanted to wait in the car just in case, you know, Anderson was there. He was going to recognize him. So they ran up in there looking for the money, looking for the stash and everything. And yeah, Anderson's girl, well, one of his girls was in there, you know, and yeah, he was like, yeah, once you put a strap to the head, they usually, you know, let us know what's going on. So now that we have information on Shropshire, right, now what they want to do is they want to track down Shropshire and see exactly what he's doing. So now we see Nicole Steele. She goes to one of the officials, and she's introducing herself, just letting them know that she's here to, you know, just do some investigating and find out exactly what's going on. The Department of Justice wants to definitely crack down and make sure that there's no civil rights being violated, but clearly there is. So she's just going to get some help and get more connected with the politicians within the city. And yeah, she's going to question Herschel. And he's like, hey, listen, if he doesn't want to talk to you, you know, just leave it alone or whatever. Just be careful out there. He's letting her know, just be careful, because yeah, it's a lot of corruption going on in the city. So now we see Sean Suter. You know, now he's a detective again of homicide. And we see Gondu, and they go way back because they was on the same team together. So Gondu's kind of laughing at him because they're looking for their car to use. And he's like, well, you know, I do what I do, and I get paid to do what I do and get overtime and everything else like that. So he's kind of gigging on them, but he's like, all right, you know, you guys keep doing what you're doing. And he's like laughing. Gondu is laughing at Sean Suter because Gondu has the inside track, and these guys are just, you know, he's really upset. The other guy's really upset because they got to look for this car. So now we see, yeah, the TO talking to Jenkins and showing him how they're locking folks up and they're having them sign a waiver that they won't sue the city. And if they do, then they're going to stay locked up and everything else like that. So it's a lot of craziness going on, people getting locked up for nothing. So they're talking about, you know, really more information on who Gondu is and who Shropshire is, and how they're going to get more information, right? So they need more connections, and they need to start tapping some phones. So this guy right here, he's going to help McDougal and Fitzpatrick tap the phone so they can get more information and find out what Shropshire is doing and who he is connected to. And it's saying how nobody from Baltimore called them as far as that tracker, that other tracker. So now Sean Suter is on his first homicide case, and he's gonna go to the scene He's a little nervous, but he's gonna go do his thing. And the other, homicide detective, he got another case someplace else. So, Suter's doing his thing. He's looking around. He's asking, forensics to go ahead and take some pictures of the area, and he's checking things out. He seems to be a pretty good detective so far, but this is his first scene. So, we're seeing that he's definitely serious about it. And yeah, he seems to be pretty good so far, but he's getting his bearings. He's brand new to the scene. And yeah, this is the beginning of him being a detective. So now we see Shropshire. He looks like he's going out of town. From what we understand, he's going to Vegas. So he parks in a pretty expensive spot, and the guys are waiting until he goes away. So, McDougal gives Fitzpatrick the tracker. He's like, well, why should I do it? He's like, well, you got seniority, man. You're used to bending over. And he's like, your mom, right? So, Fitzpatrick, he puts the tracker on Shropshire's car so they can track him down when he comes back. So now the internal affairs agent, she comes back, and they now find out exactly who Shropshire is connected to, and they confirm that yes, Shropshire is connected to G Money, and absolutely they do go way back. So what Anderson said definitely checks out. So now we see this guy here, and he connected Fitzpatrick and McDougal to the phones, to Shropshire's phone, and to whoever's calling in. So they're gonna be investigating. And yeah, he's talking to his girl. Shropshire's talking to his girl, and he's like, yeah, sugar, bring me that sugar. And he's like, sugar's referring to the product. And he's like, I'm just joking. So the guy's like, listen, somebody told us that the bad guys gotta be good all the time. All we have to do is be lucky to catch them, right? So boom. So now we got another situation here where the internal affairs lady is going back to the precinct because they messed up, and now they're back to get more information with the guy that was reporting Gandu, right? He had a bad feeling about Gandu, and he was watching him, and he told the internal affairs this, but now they need more information. So he's like, yeah, there's a lot of red flags that popped up. Definitely him being connected to Shropshire, and it's saying that Shropshire was a good guy. But they all know that Shropshire is a dealer in the hood. So now Shropshire, again, they're listening on his conversations, and they pick up, yeah, definitely that he's talking to Gandu. And he's trying to find out, what is the number, and they find the number, and yeah, your boy McDougal gets the information and sees that Shropshire has been calling Gandu for a very long time. They're looking at the phone records, and that number is connected to G Money. That's Gandu. So they're like, wow, man, like this guy. And even though they're friends from way back, yeah, this guy, Shropshire, is definitely doing some bad business. So now Nicole still talks to the rapper, and she's like, yeah, so yeah, we heard the song. And he's like, I don't know much more that I can tell you, whatever I put on that song. But, Herschel, he's definitely stealing and harassing and everything else like that. He steals from me, and he steals from everybody. And Nicole still, she's like, what? Really? He's like, yeah, he's just been stealing from all of us and harassing all of us ever since I made that song. So now they leave, and she gets a phone call, doesn't know who it is, but says that they want to meet up with her. So now we're back at the office, and they're still listening on Shropshire's phone calls, but they see that the tracker has been caught, right? So Shropshire pretty much took his car to the shop, and they found the tracker on there. All right, so now there's another phone call that comes in, and who is it? It's Shropshire talking to Gandu about what they found on his car at the shop. So Gandu was talking to him, and he's like, what happened? He's like, yeah, my car's hot. What do I do? Whatever. He's like, yo, don't talk, hold up. You on an iPhone, hit me on FaceTime, right? So, of course, they can't track down the FaceTime call. So Gandu's going to tell Shropshire exactly what to do and how to handle that tracker on his car, right? So they're listening, and McDougal, Fitzpatrick, they're listening in. They're like, yo, why did he tell him to go on FaceTime? Of course, because they can't track a FaceTime call. So Gandu knows exactly what he's doing. And they're slowly but surely figuring out that, yeah, Gandu knows how to maneuver through all of this without getting caught for the most part. but he is going to slip up. That's how they found out Gandu is connected to Shropshire. So we see an officer, and he's the one that called Nicole Steele because he knew that she was in town. She was doing her investigation. And yeah, he's letting her know everything. He let his chief know and everybody know that he doesn't like how where the department's going and how they're handling things. And yeah, he's ready to talk to her. So now we shoot back, way back again, and we see your boy Jenkins and his training officer letting them know how it goes. If they catch one person with some product, they take them all in. Pretty much they get paid double the money for bringing everybody in as opposed to bringing just one person in with the product. So we know that they want to make more money, so they're going to bring everybody in, even if they don't lock up and lock down everybody, which is crazy. So now we shoot and see, again, Jenkins is bringing some crabs to his family, must be a family gathering. And, he says he was a little late or whatever. So he brings the crabs, and the guys are like, yo, these are some small crabs, man. He's like, yo, man, it was like $48. That's all I can afford. So they're talking about all the other stuff that they bought to the party and that they got steaks and everything. And it looks like pretty much they're showing how Jenkins basically didn't have a lot of money and how he was feeling bad about that, trying to impress his girlfriend or his wife at the time. And yeah, he wanted to make more money to impress his girlfriend and his family and everything else like that. All right, so now we see back on the block, they're still harassing folks. And the TO's like, okay, man, so what you want to do? We're going to bring one person in for the product to everybody. So Jenkins is getting it. He's like, all right, we're going to bring in everybody because, again, that gives them more money. So now we shoot back to the officer talking to Nicole Steele. And she's like, so with everything that's going on, why isn't any police cops being locked up? He says, because everybody's lying and nobody is going to give up any other cops, right? They're not going to do it at all. So she's basically like, yo, you guys continue to lie. He's like, yeah, we do. We continue to lie, right? So he's talking about the young man that got pulled over. And this is where we see that the officer saw the real corruption going on and the real harassment going on, where these cops out of nowhere just pulled over this young man for nothing. They just pulled him over. He wasn't doing anything. They said he was walking around with a hood on. They go through his pockets and they find a makeshift knife on him, right? Something that was made up. He's like, yo, I got to protect myself. So they're like, listen, we locking you up, put him in handcuffs and everything. He's like, yo, I wasn't doing anything, man. He wasn't doing anything. He just had a hood on, walking through the hood. And the officer that's talking about it, he was standing right there. So he wasn't involved, but he definitely saw what was going on. So Nicole still wants to talk to the young man. Says, maybe he'll talk to me. And he's like, well, you can try. You can go talk to him and see if he'll talk to you. So she goes to talk to the young man. And she's like, what else did they do to you? And he was like, basically, they banged on me. They beat me up and everything. And they really bashed me up. So he takes off his hat, right? And man, huge gash on his head. I mean, they really beat him bad. He had stitches. And she's like, man, like she's seeing it live that, yeah, these cops are definitely messing with these kids out here. And he's like, yo, am I going to be all right with the ladies? And she's like, yeah, I think you're going to be all right. I think you're going to be fine. So, he's really hurt about it because they really beat him up bad for nothing. Again, harassing kids, harassing people for nothing. She has to do something about it. So now we shoot back to Jamel. He's singing like a bird. And yeah, they're going to be talking about all the stuff that he was doing as far as his corruption as well. So they're talking about the $11,000 that was taken. But again, he's singing like a bird and letting them know that their sergeant, which I predicted in the last episode, their sergeant was down with it as well, as far as taking money and stealing money from product dealers and everybody else like that. He's like, oh, you didn't think that you think the sergeant is immune too? Right? So she's like, yeah, tell us about this $11,000 that was stolen and that you lied about, right? So basically, they go into talking about how Jamel pulled this guy over, and this guy basically, they pulled him over for not having a seatbelt on. And basically, they stole the money. He had $11,000 in his trunk, in a bag, and basically they took the money, split it in half, stole it, locked the guy up, and told him that, you know, the guy was like, listen, that's from my foreclosure, you know, that's from, you know, my equity in my home. He's like, man, these guys will make up anything, right? He's like, listen, the only way you're gonna get that money back is if you have paperwork to back that up. And if you don't, we're basically taking the money, right? You're out of that money. So yeah, so he got caught lying about it, right? He got caught lying about it. And he's telling them that he was suspended for 2 years with pay. So he still got paid, even though he got suspended. And when they brought him back and put him in the worst department with the most corrupt cops. That's with Jenkins, that's with Gandu, that's with all of them. He's like, you see how messed up this is? Like, I lied, and you think I'm gonna be cool when I come back? But I'm with these corrupt cops, you got me all messed up. You got me all messed up. So he's saying how messed up the system is. Meanwhile, Jenkins is in lockup, and he's just sitting there, right? He's sitting there. Here comes Jamel being taken back to his cell, looks through the window, sees Jamel, and he's looking right at him. He's like, I know you was snitching. I know you was talking. And Jamel's looking back like, man, I had to do what I had to do. You know, everybody's getting a deal. But again, he doesn't want to talk to Jenkins because Jenkins is telling everybody, don't say anything. So now Jenkins is sitting there reminiscing, and he is reminiscing because now he is like a cop with experience now, and he's the TO to this new guy, Wong. And he's telling him the same thing that his training officer told him. Forget about everything you learned in the academy. This is Baltimore. Those rules don't apply here. And he's going to teach him the game as well. And it's just a cycle going on over and over and over that they're teaching these young guys exactly what's going on. So now we go to Herschel, and Nicole still figures she go and talk to him and introduce herself and everything. So, you know, Herschel's really on some like, yeah, whatever, you guys are coming down here trying to tell us how to police people. She's like, well, there's a lot of complaints. He's like, the only people complaining are the bad guys who are being policed by us. You know, that's why they're complaining, but it doesn't sustain. It doesn't stick because they're criminals, basically. And he's like, you know, that's all pretty much all I gotta say to you. You know, nice meeting you, lady. Have a good night. And she tries to talk to him. He's like, have a good night, ma'am. Good to see you. Like, nice meeting you. And he doesn't say anything to her. And she's just really like, okay, I see who this guy really is. He's really a jerk. And this is the reason why people are complaining about him. There's no getting through to this guy because he's going to do whatever he wants to do regardless, right? So we see what type of guy Herschel is. And yeah, eventually he will get taken down. So that is the recap for episode 2 of We Own This City. Definitely drop your comments below. Family, again, very intense episode. It's going to get even wilder in episode 3. I already saw the preview for the next one, so you already know we're going to cover that as well. So listen, fam, I appreciate you all for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Absolutely like, comment below. Please do me a favor and smash that like button. And family, I appreciate you all for watching. So if you thought this video was crazy, definitely check out the next one. Salute.